All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Tempe City Council and Tempe Community Council Board of Directors joint meeting on this Monday, February 5th, exactly at 1 o'clock. I know Councilmember Hodge is going to be so excited that I started right at 1 o'clock. Also, for anyone watching at home, please feel free to visit www.tempe.gov/councilmeetinginfo for public viewing and attendance information. Members of the public can also attend the meeting virtually through Microsoft Teams. I should also note that Councilmember Keating is virtual as well through the Microsoft Teams link. Before we get started here, there's going to be no lengthy speech, obviously, from yours truly, but I wanted to make sure that we could go around the table and do some introductions for all the folks in the room. So let's see if I can go ahead and start over with Rubani.
Rubani Furqan, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Liaison for the board.
Julie Armstrong, TCC Past President, Chair.
Nick Tomashat, TCC Treasurer.
I'm Kira Russo. I'm the TCC Secretary.
Nicole Kelly, TCC Vice Chair.
I'm Nancy Blevins, the TCC Chair.
Corey Woods, Mayor.
Arlene Chin, Tempe City Council.
Burdetta Hodge, Tempe City Council.
Doreen Garland, Tempe City Council.
Good afternoon, Rosa Inchausti, City Manager.
Good afternoon, everyone. Sonia Blaine, Tempe City Attorney.
Wonderful. All right, great. Thank you so much, everyone. Really appreciate it. I know we've only got an hour for the meeting, so I want to make sure that I kind of keep things moving along here, which brings us then to item number 3, which is Tempe Community Council priorities for fiscal year 2023-24, and I'll turn it over to Nancy.
Thank you very much. May I have the next slide, please? Thank you. First of all, I want to express our thanks for all of you for coming and to have this opportunity to have the joint TCC board, mayor, and council meeting today. The executive committee of the TCC is representing the full board, and what we'd like to discuss with you today are our priorities for this fiscal year that will carry over to the next fiscal year. The city does great work toward ending homelessness, and we're going to talk a lot about that. If we could go on to the next slide. Thank you. Here's what we know of that you all do that we're trying to actively support as well. The City of Tempe Point in Time Count, which is led by the city's HOPE team, saw a reduction in individuals experiencing homelessness by 32.6%. They went from 1,861 in FY 2022 to 1,257 in FY 2023. Also, the city shelter, the Super H shelter, which is the short-term non-congregate shelter, closed on December 31st. Occupants transitioned to Suze Espacio, a city-owned property, which has double occupancy. The CHHS HOPE team partners with landlords for housing solutions like shared living, senior homes, weekly rentals, and transitional housing, shared housing up to 24 months with supportive services. And then Tempe Works, which is a job placement for people experiencing homelessness and moving out of homelessness. 24 total program graduates as of 2023. So here's how Tempe Community Council supports those strategies. TCC partners with the City for Healthy Giving initiative, which is part of our larger Together Tempe efforts. Every $1 goes to support a wide range of services. These dollars will be distributed through our agency review process. Tempe Community Council's Threads program has locations at Tempe High, Marcos de Niza, and Mountain Point, and they provide services to unhoused youth through referrals by the school district McKinney-Vento liaisons and school resource officers. As well, our VITA tax preparation program has provided services to many unhoused individuals and families through the referrals. Next, we're going to talk about the Tempe Coalition. Thank you. The Tempe Coalition is a TCC project with a long history of collaboration between Tempe Community Council and the City of Tempe in our community. We are proud to have participation from individuals, other nonprofits, businesses, and we really appreciate Councilmember Garland's and Navarro's involvement in the coalition. The coalition supports the City of Tempe meets its performance measure 1.21 by looking at data and then focusing efforts on opioids, marijuana, vaping, underage alcohol, and vaping and underage alcohol consumption. The coalition's prevention efforts support all Tempe youth, including students in 3 Tempe school districts, charter schools, and private schools. The goal is to increase the focus of prevention education to reach 5th graders, in addition to the current target of high schools and middle schools, and at ASU. They provide Narcan training and distribution, and 100% of all school districts serving Tempe as well provide responses to the Arizona Youth Survey, giving us the data back that we need to focus our efforts. Next slide, please. Okay, another priority for Tempe Community Council is our comprehensive needs assessment. Speaking of data, we use this data within agency review, we share it with the city, and we share it with other nonprofits who would find it to be helpful. And right now, even as we speak, we are embarking on our planning for the 2024 Human Needs Assessment. We are drafting the RFP and creating a timeline. We will be working and creating a group of collaborative people with the city and our nonprofit partners to help guide the assessment questions, as well as obtain responses from them and the people that they serve. Okay, next, Kira Russo is going to discuss the changes in our annual agency review process.
Awesome. Okay, in regards to agency review, we consider this to be an important component of the work that we do because it engages and convenes the community. It gives them an opportunity to have a voice while learning about the needs and the work being done in the community. For this fiscal year, based off of feedback from volunteers and agencies, we've added a multi-year option. So you can see on the chart, it's a 3-year funding cycle. We based the renewal option off of agencies that have had a 5-year successful track record receiving funding from Tempe Community Council. They have the option to compete in that, or to elect into the renewal path, whereas there will be they have the option to compete in the annual with the other agencies that didn't qualify for the renewal path. So there will be 2 pots of money, one for the renewal, and then the remaining funding is available for those that are competing annually. Other things that we're doing sorry, go back to the same slide, we're not quite done with that one. So we are continuing to develop strategies to recruit volunteers to represent the community and the demographics in Tempe, as well as diversity among the agencies based off of the needs assessment and the needs that we're finding in the community. And then as far as managing agency review and the funding allocation, we are following up with them regularly, not only on their efforts, but as well as encouraging them to network and collaborate within the communities of practice. Those are topical categories like youth and families and homelessness that convene stakeholders in the community to have conversations and move those topics forward. Nancy's going to talk a little bit more about the funding situation for agency review.
It's not the first time that these folks have heard me talk about funding for agency review. So thank you, Kira. We've seen an increase in requests again. Last time, many of you will remember that the requests for funding was more than 3 times what we had available and budgeted. So we have started fundraising with both individual and corporate donations as a whole, but it's down. It's not just down in our sector, but it's statewide. Fundraising is down this year. So our need is even greater. Also, we have learned that pandemic funds have dried up. We understand that the city is experiencing the loss of the rental tax, and everyone's having to get creative. And so we know everybody in the room has creative ideas, and we are open to anything. So We are just very interested in hearing if anybody has anything that they would like to talk about in this regard.
I guess the only thing I can add is that myself and Mayor Gallego from the city of Phoenix and Mayor Giles from Mesa last week sent a letter to the governor talking about trying to find a way to backfill some of the lost revenue. I know for the city of Tempe, it's estimated to be somewhere between $15 to $20 million annually starting at the beginning of 2025, which is obviously a pretty substantial hit to our budget. One of the things in talking with our chief deputy city manager and CFO, Tom Dunsing, that he's talked about many times is we have the ability, because we have managed the city very effectively from a budgeting standpoint, to more or less manage through a lot of these challenges. One of the things we've talked about is that we typically have access to what we call budget supplementals. So we approve the budget at the beginning of June every year, but then there's the ability sometimes to make mid-year budget adjustments based on things that either council members or staff see that our community needs. But for the next roughly 3 years, we're not going to really be able to do any of those because we're just not going to have the funding available. But did reach out to the governor last week to have a conversation about trying to find ways to backfill some of that funding, whether it's to look at the state shared revenue formula or to create some other new streams of revenue. We obviously stand ready to have a conversation with Governor Hobbs and legislative leadership about how to do that. But we are going to have to be, very prudent over the next 3 years or so due to the lack of that funding. The other thing we put in the letter was just seeing if there was some ability to delay the implementation. It was scheduled to go into effect on January 1st of 2025. But there have been some people kind of in the governor's circle that have talked about there might be a willingness to look at delaying the implementation of that. So maybe there is some way to push it back, 4 to 6 months to allow cities to continue to plan even more for the loss of that revenue. Like I talked about in Tempe, it's up to 20 million. I think in Phoenix, it's estimated as 90 million. So it really is a substantial hit to a lot of our budgets, especially in a lot of the cities of Phoenix, Mesa, and Tempe. So no exact plan as of yet, but just wanted everyone to know that we are actively working on it as a city, and we'll keep you updated as we find more updates.
Okay, thank you for adding. There we go. Next, while we're on the topic of money, let's just keep on with that. Next, we're going to have Nick Tomaschott talk about Tempe Community Council's financial health. Nick.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. If you don't mind, I wanted to start with a comment. I worked in Tempe from 2013 to 18 and got engaged with the community council, first with agency review, and then had a truncated board tenure after I took a career move and went to Tampa for 5 years. So we returned to Tempe by choice in 2023, and I re-engaged with the Tempe Community Council. And I think I've told other people this. It's like when you see a niece or nephew and you haven't seen them for a while, and it's remarkable how much they've changed and grown. And from everything from agency review to the financial reporting and processes and the needs assessment, what was already a great organization has just grown so much in the 5 years I was away. And I hope you guys see it, but it's more of a gradual thing if you're engaged with them every year. So thanks for indulging me with that remark. Going into the financials, my predecessor and the TCC had developed a 5-year strategic plan, and the current fiscal year, 23-24, is actually year 1 of that plan. And the plan lays out a time frame where we're utilizing a portion of our investments to support programming, and while we're working towards getting our fundraising and contributions in balance with the programs that we're supporting. We're actually running favorable year to date versus that year 1 budget, and the investments, as I'm sure you're all are aware with your own investments, have been performing very well. Our balance sheet is very strong, and we have significant reserves that goes a long way towards demonstrating our solvency and stability to funders. And at the same time, it shows we have the ability and capacity to manage reimbursement grants. We just kicked off the 2024 budget, 24-25 budget, and we'll be using this roadmap to inform what we're putting into that plan. And from a financial stewardship point of view, we have a very robust monthly process where our accountants prepare very thorough financial reports, which they go through myself and the Finance Committee, and we take the board through these. We recently just completed our 990 filing and a successful audit, which the TCC team put a lot of work into for the PBC items to support that. So just as a finance professional, and somebody who's been in this organization just a few months, taking over the tenure for Nicole, I'm very impressed with the processes we have in place, the strength of the balance sheet, and the planning processes we have in place. I'm going to turn it over to Julie, who's going to talk about branding and fundraising.
Awesome, thanks, Nick.
Really quickly,
yes,
Julie, can I ask a quick question, actually? I saw at one point Councilmember Keating's hand went up, and I just want to make sure he didn't have a question. Councilmember Keating, do you have a question on anything?
No, thank you, Mayor. You covered something that I wanted to address, so I put my hand down, save everyone some time. Thank you.
Sounds good.
All right,
Thank you, Councilmember. Sorry, Julie.
Okay, thanks, Nick. Yes, that's correct. I'm here to talk about our branding and subsequent fundraising. We have a committee within TCC that's kind of has tentacles that goes to all of our committees, including this committee, and that is our Together Tempe. And for those of you who don't know, we also have an initiative with the city that is on your water bill. So your water bill will come to you, whether that would be online or through the mail, where you can give $1 or more each month to this initiative, which then helps goes to our agency review process, which Kira was speaking about. So as you heard her say, and you heard Nancy say, we are at a deficit for the money that we are being asked through agency review. Now, while I would love to say agency review is the only thing that TCC does, it is not. And as you can see from this slide here that we have up, these are all of our programs, including what we do within agency review, along with the Tempe Coalition, which was already spoke about. But we have our Threads Teen Closet, which is a donation that we have at 3 of our local high schools. And they also take donations through the Threads program so that they can buy new items for new and for like socks and underwear and hygiene products that would need to come to the teens new. We also have our Care Fair, which is actually coming up on March 16th here in the courtyard right here. So we have a lot of the agencies that are involved in our agency review that attend that Care Fair. We also have our Tempe Community Foundation, TCF, which houses some other funding options, but not to agency review. We also have the VITA tax site, which is now open. So we do taxes for people who might not be able to afford to have their taxes done or meet the criteria to have their taxes done. And those numbers that we have served over the years that we've had this site are phenomenal. It's just incredible what that team does. And then we also have Open Horizons and Triple P, which are both teen programs, and our kind of claim to fame that we like to go out and celebrate in a big party, and the who's who of Tempe is our Don Carlos Humanitarian Awards. So we do a lot of things that all take money to pull off. And so we obviously are at a deficit and really looking for some branding and marketing awareness with our identity. And we believe that you all could help or assist with us to go far beyond what TCC does within its walls, with helping us with marketing and branding and getting it out through the channels of the city, even more robust, I think, than we're currently doing. And those are the things we would like to continue to work on this year. We continue every year over year to enhance the water bill and the things that we're doing with sticking TCC and its programs inside the water bill, getting on the weekly newsletters and things that the council people have agreed to put in, and we want to continue to do that. We're also deeply involved or started to involve and have the partnership with the Real Change, Not Spare Change. So we look to continue to develop that as 2024 goes on. And then constantly, we have a team in the background on our staff that are looking to not only for our Tempe Coalition initiatives, but also things that we're doing with inside TCC is looking for new grants and renewals. And so that could also be a place that council and the mayor's office and city staff could assist with. And if they hear about or know about grants that are coming up or things where they think we should be, suggesting those to our staff so that we could look into those and see if we qualify to apply for that money. Our motto is helping those in need with those who care. And we do a really, really great job of sourcing volunteers for everything that we do. We're never really short of volunteers. Where we come up short is the fund development. So we're really hoping we can stand out in some way in your minds when that comes up. So thank you for your time, and I am now going to turn it over to Rabani.
Thanks, Julie.
Unless anyone has questions. Okay.
Councilor Bratz?
I don't know if it's a question, or I guess it could be a little bit of both. I know when you were talking about the Threads program and you're talking about Triple P, I don't know how we can wrap that in because they all encompass our TAP program, and I know we get funding through state and federal for the TAP program. I'm just wondering, is there something maybe we can look into to see, because you guys help with that maybe we can get some additional grants for you guys with it too?
I'm going to give that to Octavia really quick since she knows about that process with TAP, the funding with TAP. Sorry. That we could tap into TAP.
Tap into TAP.
Or Threads. Or Threads.
Absolutely. Octavia Harris, Executive Director, Tempe Community Council. And we're absolutely open to any additional funding streams. The program that we actually will directly serve TAP students with is Open Horizons, which is childcare and transportation support for any students who may need it. But we also make Threads accessible to TAP students. So would absolutely appreciate any additional assistance, collaborations that we could have.
Look it off now. I will work with you outside of this meeting to help you with that.
Okay. So hopefully Octavia and I can reach out to you with the Together Tempe. I know you met with the committee previously, so if we could reach back out and have a little bit of your time, that would be much appreciated. Anything else as far as the branding and our strategies for fund development?
Anything else? All
Okay.
good.
Thank you. Here's
Thank you,
Rabani.
Julie.
Thanks, Julie. I'd like to talk a little bit about how Tempe Community Council is prioritizing equity, diversity, and inclusion. And if you see on the screen now, in 2023, last year, the EDI task force, we created an EDI statement. We took this statement and we presented it to our board for feedback and for input. And they came up with some additional suggestions, and we took the statement again to our executive committee for approval and then back to the board, so that way we can have everyone in unison understand that this is something that we wanted to push out to the community. And after all that, again, we created our EDI statement, and that lives on our TCC website right underneath our mission and our vision. So it's really showing our community how we're prioritizing equity, diversity, and inclusion in all of the good work that TCC does. Another thing that this EDI task force that was created is really working with our internal committees and our internal programs. We make sure to have a member of the task force hop in and hop out to all of the committees that are having meetings, as well as send out various emails and requests on how we can support any of their endeavors. Another thing that we really pride ourselves in is making sure that our community is well represented among the board. So we make sure to survey each year sent out a survey to our board, and we asked different questions. What zip code do you live in? We asked questions, what are your pronouns? What are your areas of experience? Do you have nonprofit experience? Are you employed? Are you retired? Are you an entrepreneur? We asked these questions to really understand what our board makeup is, so that way we can see what our areas of opportunity are or gaps that we may have within our board to make sure that we're reflective of our community. We may have 1 year 75%, of a board within this skill set or in this zip code. So we want to make sure that we're proactively recruiting different areas, so that way, again, that our community could really be well represented within the board. And we always make sure to have someone on the EDI task force sit on board recruitment, so that way we're making sure that we're having a diversity lens on the recruitment that we do. Another thing that we are really priding ourselves is a great relationship with the city through the mayoral appointed board member, Dr. McMillan Humes. We make sure to meet with her directly on different insights. We took our EDI statement, a new goal that we have, which is a provision or addition into our bylaws. We take different questions and things to her to get feedback, to get insights. We're making sure that we're meeting with her regularly. To kick off this 2024 year, we have our meeting set up with her at the end of the month. So we're making sure that there's a clear line of communication to the city, and making sure that we're leading first with and really making sure that we are connecting and making sure that that we're in step with the city and their initiatives within diversity, so that they're properly reflected within the TCC community as well as our board and TCC. And I'd like to actually send that, unless there are any questions, I will send it back to Nancy.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Rabani.
All right, well, thank you, everyone. That concludes our organized agenda items. And I want to thank again everybody for coming. And this was the first joint meeting we've had. And in terms of collaboration and discussion, we've managed to take most of the time. So I wanted to open it up to anyone to see if anyone has any questions or about anything that we've talked about or comments.
Thank you so much. Any comments or questions? I guess my main one was just to say I really appreciate the work that Tempe Community Council continues to do, and really echoing a lot of what Nick talked about. I see the organization continues to grow by leaps and bounds every year. And one of the things I love just about the setup of the organization is a lot of people don't remember the history of TCC, which is basically it was set up for the purposes of trying to identify what our human services needs were in the city of Tempe, and basically to remove the folks who are the politicians out of those conversations, to make sure it's not a matter of my nonprofit gets funded because I know the mayor or I know the vice mayor or a member of the council, but it actually gets funded based on the needs that are expressed in our community through the survey and through the work that each and every one of you do. And so I'm always very proud of this process and the fact that we know that the work that you are doing really is benefiting those in need, and it isn't being moved in any way, shape, or form due to political wins or things of that nature. Not that any of us would ever do that. I just think it's a phenomenal structure, but each and every year, I've been now in city government since 2008, and I just continue to see the organization grow and do exceptional work in allocating money and serving people who are truly the most vulnerable people, honestly, in our community. So I just wanted to personally say thank you. I think it's great work, and I just look forward to having more joint meetings like this one and just to the kind of continued and increased partnership between our two organizations. So I just wanted to say thank you. Julie.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to piggyback off of what you just said. I'm going into my final and 7th year on the board, and I can tell you in the 6 years that I served, that time, the last couple years are the most robust years that we've really had a connection with the council and the council members, and really the outreach and the care that they've reached back out to us when we've asked for things and stuff. In the beginning, I think it was more of a partnership or an affiliation agreement, and I really think that both sides have moved the needle on that. And I just want to say that as a board member and putting my heart and soul into this for the last 6 years, I truly appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Councilmember Chin, then Councilmember Garland.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, let me reiterate the agency review process. So I previously chaired that subcommittee as well as chairing and serving on the TCC board. So I understand all of the work by the many volunteers that go into it, and I wanted to express my appreciation. I had a question about the new 3-year funding cycle. Nothing specific for now, but more for later. I'm curious, as you roll it out, if you would come back to us and let us know which organizations opt in and how much money then becomes encumbered year to year as you roll that out. I mean, I think that's down the road after it's been in play for a bit, but that.
We're at the very beginning of it, and you absolutely bet we will come back and talk to you about it. This has been such a great, the front-end loaded feedback from our agencies was incredibly positive. We want to make sure that we document our journey along the way, because this is almost a pilot. We didn't offer it just worldwide. We only did it to our trusted agencies, as Kira told you, that we've been funding for 5 solid years, and they've been interacting well with us. There's a good amount. We will keep you posted.
Great. I know that from being on the board, the amount of funding, I also learned this early on when I served on the TCC board, that we never run short of need. And since being in this seat, I've also recognized that while some of the direct funding for agency review hasn't increased by the number that we would all like, and we in the community and the TCC board, I have noted that mayor and council and the community have dedicated resources and funding for programs that help support human services. So it may not be in the agency review process, but the funding is reflected otherwise.
If I can just add real quick, one of the hopes with the multi-year process is that having that kind of looking forward certainty as opposed to year-by-year funding will allow these agencies that we have a trusted relationship with to kind of plan ahead past the end of that fiscal year and hopefully create more stability and therefore more efficiency with the funding that they do receive. So the hope is that we'll at least create some more impact to whatever degree.
Wonderful. Thank you. Councilmember Garland?
I like that slide on slide number 6 that we were just looking at, the same thing that Councilmember Chin was just mentioning about the 3-year funding. I've seen and been a part of organizations that apply for funding with TCC, and some of them, or 2 of them that I have been on before, have been doing this for years and have been funded. And the ease that this will give them, if they are continue to be a good funding organization for you to work with, I love this. I think it's really, really smart, and I think you're going to make a lot of people who do this annually very happy. So thank you so much. I also want to say that I love that you'd mentioned about the Care Fair on March 16th. If anybody out there wants to volunteer, I know you said you get a lot of volunteers, but that's always so darn much fun to be a part of that organization, to be able to volunteer. And then I will stand up and say again, or sit down and say again, we need more money in our water bill. You all can handle more than $1 a month. So I just think that we need to try to do whatever we can to encourage more to be put in that water bill to be able to help out, and the funding goes directly to you. I think we all need to be doing something a little bit more. I found my video that I shot for you guys last year, and I'm going to put it out again.
Thank you. Councilmember Hodge?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to say thank you for all the work that you guys do, because you don't just impact me on this part of my life, you definitely impact me even more on my high school part of my governing board part. I just wonder, do you guys have any data that we can show the positive effects of what's gone on through like the last 5 years, or something that we can actually have a slide of how many people we've helped in different capacities? That would be great for the community to know how many people we've helped and contribute to. So
yes, we do have that, and Councilmember Garland also has asked for that information, and we are compiling that, so we will make sure we make that a priority, definitely, to get that out to everyone.
And also, I would ask, if you do that, I would like for you guys to come to my governing board because you guys have had a very positive effect and they need to hear it also.
Wonderful. Well, invitation accepted.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Chin?
Thank you, Mayor. And I forgot, so sorry. Nick, you mentioned positive financial health, which is always a great line and a great idea. Can you tell us a little bit more about the Tempe Community Foundation and how that's doing and any details that you can share?
I will take that as he's deflecting this to Octavia.
Mayor and council, in terms of Tempe Community Foundation, there's an endowment and a collaborative fund, and sum total of both is about $1.6 million. And in terms of the principal of the endowment, it peels off about $50,000 per year. And one of the rules of the charter of the Tempe Community Foundation is that those funds do not come back to TCC because we management. So it's part of that agreement. So we do try to ensure that on an annual basis, we are getting that money back into the community, and we utilize the data from the community needs assessment as well as what we've seen come out of the agency review process to fill any current gaps, any needs that might be innovative or something that's a little different that maybe there's not a lot of funding for in the community.
Wonderful. Thank you. Council, any other questions or comments? I don't see any on there. All right. Well, with that said, then, thank you very much. Definitely a very productive meeting, and I'm sure the first in the long line of many, and really appreciate the work you continue to do and appreciate the partnership. And with that, we are adjourned at 1:36 p.m. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.